Hello! Welcome to day 4 of Untamed and Unapologetic Challenge. And today is my favorite day. Well, tomorrow is also going to be amazing. But it's one of my favorite days because today we're talking about sex. So just to give you a little context if you are new. By the way, how perfect is it that I'm back in the jungle as we're talking about sex? Wearing my cheetah dress. So I'm ready. So a little context about Untamed and Unapologetic before we dive in. The first one is this is a 5-day free live stream training, and it's all about embracing, well, first of all, looking at the 5 archetypes that hold us back as women. And then what is the antidote so that you can embrace more of your power. And the idea is that as we're working through these archetypes, is that you're learning more freedom, more self-expression, more power, more pleasure, more love. And so it's free live stream because I'm like, everybody needs to know about this. I want to be talking about it. I want to have a whole conversation about it. So that's the idea. I'm drinking yerba mate with a straw. Okay, so just to recap, if you haven't yet caught the other episodes, the first day was on the people pleaser, which is the part of us that says things to make people like us. Antidote to that one is truth. The next day was on the resentful martyr, who gives and gives and gives and has no off switch and then becomes resentful. The antidote to that one is desire. Yesterday we talked about the approval seeker, which is the part of us that feels like we need to follow the good life script. So have the 9-to-5, the spouse, the 2 kids and a white picket fence, whatever your good life script was. And the antidote to that one is faith and following and trusting the little voice. Today, the archetype is the shutdown virgin, and the antidote is sex. And so we'll dive more into it, but that's just a little, here's where we're at. Oh, and tomorrow's a surprise. Well, you may have already seen it. It's the competitive frenemy. We're talking about sisterhood tomorrow. So that's where we are in the challenge. And here is my request. If you're watching, let me know what your intention is for today. What is it that you want to learn about or talk about when it comes to sex? And then my request is that you clear space for the conversation. So it's really easy to watch a video or while you're also answering emails and texting, but it's hard to get much out of it that way. And so what I'm about to share and talk about is important, and it honestly can change your life if you're willing to give it the focus and attention. So, full presence, full attention, and let's jump into it. Okay, so the first question, why does sex matter? You're probably like, sex is just like something we do. Why is it a whole day of this challenge? And why is it my favorite day? Well, sex matters because it's like sex energy, the sexuality energy is the same creative life energy. So it's the energy that is literally used to make other humans. It's like these, I don't know how esoteric you want to get, but it's like yin and yang come together and like something new is born. And the desire for yin and yang to come together, man, woman, 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 whatever, masculine, feminine to come together, is sex energy. And so when I say sex energy, I don't just mean like the act, but I also mean the energy of it and the creation energy. It's the same energy that is your creativity, is the desire to partner in business, is the desire to reach out and connect, it's all of that. And I believe when we're fully in our bodies and in our senses, we make love to life. It's like in every moment, it's an invitation to make love to life. And when we're in our bodies and we're feeling things, we get that sense of life, making love with life. All right, let me just make my notes over here. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I believe like there's a lot of shame around sex and stories around sex and obsession around sex, but I think it's our superpower because it's that call to intimacy with life. I'll tell you a story. When I was 23, I was a leadership consultant. I was like a student. I was very intent on like accomplishing my goals and achieving things. And the way I moved through the world is I analyzed everything. My mom would joke. She's like, "You're like a brain on a stick. You just treat your body as like a functional thing to move you through life so that you can think about things." I think there's a lot of truth in that. And I remember one of my teachers, Nicole, some of you know her, she told me, she's like, "You want more intimacy with life, don't you? You want more intimacy with life." And at the time, I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I mean, I felt the yes. I was like, yeah, I want that, but I don't know what that is. And now I'm like, oh, what she means is like intimacy with life is like I'm in my body. Like my body is feeling, sensing, responding. I'm not like sitting back here, 4 layers of analysis backwards, but life and I are close. Like I feel things, I'm impacted by things. And yeah, I think that's like what sex energy is. It's like, yeah, that feeling impacting. So I think looking back, I'm like, oh, she's saying I wanted more access to my sensuality and my sexuality. But I think that's really true. So one thing I want to just say is like, pleasure is the felt experience of our sex. So pleasure is the feeling that happens when we're present in our bodies and we feel a yes. Like, you have a really good chocolate cake and it's just like, and it's moist and it's juicy and it's rich and it's thick and you're like, yeah. That feeling of pleasure is the felt experience of your sex energy. That's how I would describe it. And by the way, all of this is just my life view and the way that I see the world. Do not have to believe it, don't have to agree. Take what you want, leave the rest. Yeah, okay. So the thing I want to say, I was reading The Atlantic the other day, and it was 6 months ago, maybe a year ago, and it was writing that we are in a sex recession. My generation is having less sex than any generation before it recorded. Maybe in like caveman days they were having less sex. I don't know. They had a lot of hunting and gathering to do. But we're having less sex than any generation. Isn't that crazy? It's so crazy. So let's see. Okay. And why is that? I think there's a few reasons. So one is I think we're using our technology more. So we're on our laptops, on our phones. There's a lot of like screen time and not a lot of face-to-face time. Hi, Melina. Welcome. The other reason I think we're in a sex recession is that we are moving fast. There's like this urgency to the way most people are moving through their days, where they're like meeting to meeting to meeting, to work out, to pick up kids, to do this. And feminine sexuality requires a certain slow cultivation. And so it doesn't create a lot of space for the cultivation of feminine sexual energy. The other one is there are a lot of digital alternatives to in-person sexuality. Porn, Tinder, Snapchat, video calls. There's a lot of ways where people are engaging with their sexuality that's not actually like face-to-face with another body. Hi, Hannah. If you're joining, just say, hey, let me know how you're feeling today. And anything you want to talk about on this Facebook Live, let me know. The other reason I think we're in a sex recession is there's a lot of shame and comparison in our sex. Like this feeling, especially because a lot of men, and some women too, have grown up learning about sex from porn. And porn stars are cosmically enhanced. they're like, or cosmetically, not cosmically, cosmetically enhanced. And they're acting. It's fake. It's not real. But a lot of people watch porn, or their partners have watched porn, and they're like, I have to look like that and I have to sound like that. It's like, an example is shaved pussies was not a thing until porn took off. And porn, they shave, this is what I've read. I'm not totally sure it's true, but in porn they shave women's pussies so that you can see the action more clearly, like there's less blocking it. And because a whole generation of men grew up watching porn and saw a lot of shaved pussies, then the trend became women have to shave their pussies and look prepubescent. I mean, if that's your thing, that's totally your thing. But it's just an example of how porn is impacting our sex lives. It's a huge thing. I talk about that in my men's group. Okay. So I think that's like globally why we're in a sex recession, a few of the reasons. But then on like a personal level, there's a few things that I see that block a woman from having full access to her sexuality. So there's 5 blockers and 5 keys to unlocking it. I like balance. It's quite nice. Just say hi if you're joining. Let me know if you have any questions, what you'd like to get out of it. Okay, so here are the 5 blockers. Number 1, I see a lot of women that feel dry and depleted. They've been going, giving. And there's kind of like we were talking about in day 2, resentful martyr, there's no off switch. And so she's doing all of this for others, but she's neglecting the activities that nourish and fill her up. In other words, she's not stoking her inner fire because she's trying to produce and give and go. And then she ends up feeling dry and depleted. Pretty much, I can definitely relate to this one. Let me know if you can relate to that one. Drop like a heart or one of these or one of those or something like that. Wow, the gecko just started making noises out there. Okay, the second blocker is feeling unsafe. So this goes to boundaries and knowing and honoring our yes and our no. And I think a lot of the women that I coach with struggle with this one. It's like both hearing the no and then having the inner spine to honor it. But without having that inner yes and no, the world doesn't feel safe. And so our bodies become tight and contracted and guarded. Like you literally see like women holding in their bellies, like their chest will feel tight. Everything's kind of like closed because they don't feel safe. Okay, third blocker, thinking and not feeling. So this was probably my biggest blocker, which is like I just lived in my head. I was like reading books, I was on my phone, I was thinking, I was studying. Everything I did was cognitive. It was intellectual. And more than that, it's like I grew up with the belief that like my dark emotions are not welcome. And so I had repressed a lot of my grief and anger and sadness and frustration. And I just kind of like numbed it and repressed it and went into my head. Can anyone relate to that? If you're watching, just be like, yep, I know that spot. Because I think this one's super common. And the impact of that, when I'm repressing feelings in my head, I'm not in now. I start thinking about the future or the past. And in a way, it's like I become not present and numb. And I think a lot of our world operates like that. So that's the third blocker. By the way, we'll talk about what to do with these blockers in a minute. So if you're like, oh God, this is terrible. It's okay. We're going to get to the antidotes. But first, we're talking about the blockers. Okay, fourth blockers, the belief that your sexuality is his job. I think men and women feel like this, thinking that men should just know what we like, and if we're not enjoying it, it's his fault. Or if we just found the right man who's really good in bed, then we would have access to our pleasure. Blaming him for not being a good kisser or not knowing the way we like to be touched. Not pleasuring ourselves because we think if we have a boyfriend, it's his job to pleasure us. there's a lot of ways where women are conditioned that our sex is his job and for him. And I'll just give you an example. My little brother, his girlfriend was like, I don't like the way you kiss or whatever. And he's like 14. And I'm like, okay, great. You can learn. You know, it's like, it's not, nobody woke up or popped out of the womb knowing how to be great at sex, men or women. Even though it's natural, it's still like a learned skill. And when we're like, we have to only be with a man who's good, we're giving away our power and our ability to know what we like and to show the men that we invite into our bedroom what we like. Okay, more on that in a minute. The fifth blocker, feeling dirty and disgusting. This is such a huge one. Oh my gosh, there's so much shame around our bodies and our pussies. All these thoughts of like, am I ugly down there? Do I smell okay? Is it gross if I touch myself? Like, so much shame gets trapped in there. I'm like, all the songs, like, they're just, like, okay, just take, for example, the fact that tampons come scented. Have you ever thought about that? Like, why do you need a scented tampon? Your body has its own scent, and it's natural, and it's normal, and it's perfect, and scented tampons bring all these chemicals into your pussy. So anyway, if you like scented tampons, you feel free. I just don't like the cultural messaging around scented tampons. Okay, so if you're seeing yourself in any of these 5 blockers, I want you to know it is so normal. It's so relatable. A lot of women feel this way, myself included. I have felt every single one of those 5. So, yes. But we don't have to stop there. I think I should be a Quirkle ad because in all of my videos I'm drinking out of this. Okay, so here are the 5 keys to unlocking your sex and your pleasure. Ready? And they go with the 5 blockers. They're 1-to-1. So the first blocker was feeling dry and depleted. The first key, stoke your fire with pleasure practices. So this is pretty much the first thing I do when I start coaching a woman on her sexuality is like, what are you doing that makes you feel sexy? What are you doing that makes you feel like yummy and juicy and alive? And so it might be dance, it might be movement, massage, slow sensual eating, might be a luxurious lion on a Sunday morning. Like, what are the things that give you pleasure and nourish your body? Especially if you're feeling dry and depleted. This one's super important. Okay, the next one, honor your yes and your no. So this one is really like, we've got to be hardcore with our boundaries as women because it's the only way that we feel safe enough to soften our bodies and soften our bellies and relax into pleasure. Because when a woman relaxes into pleasure, her mind shuts off and she's she's exposed and unguarded. And the only way we will let ourselves go there is if we feel safe. And the only way we feel safe is if we trust ourselves to honor our boundaries. So that means like not having sex when you don't want to. Even if he wants to, great. He can handle that on his own. You don't have to have sex just because he wants to. Even if he's your husband. You know, for a long time, women were not allowed to say no to their husband. That if a husband raped his wife, it was not a criminal offense. It's crazy. So I just want to say there is a bona fide cultural reason why a lot of women don't feel safe in their sexuality. So you're not crazy and you're not alone. Okay, but the key is to learn to be hardcore with your boundaries. And this means like not doing anything that doesn't feel amazing to your pussy. And I think sometimes when we don't slow down and honor our no, then it results in a lot of health problems because our body is trying to then guard us. Like yeast infections, UTIs, vaginitis, like all these things, basically inflammation of your pussy. Because I think our pussies are like, you didn't protect me, so now I have to give you something in order to protect myself. So I know that's kind of a radical view on it. It doesn't have to, it may not resonate with you in your experience, but that's how I see it. Yeah, so then the second key to unlocking your sex is honoring your yes and honoring your no. The third one is letting yourself feel. So a lot of us move around the world like brains on a stick and thinking, not feeling, not letting ourselves go into the emotions and the darkness and the feeling. And yeah, so it's a practice is the thing that I would say. It's a practice of learning how to slow down, be in the now, and acknowledge our emotions and our feelings. So that's the third one. By the way, we're only going an inch deep in each of these. So if you want to explore it more, send me a note. Happy to talk about it with you. And we're also going deeper into these in the retreat in September. Woo! There's basically like a day. Each day of the retreat corresponds with each day of these. So just two things to keep in your mind if you're like, that's a lot of content and I can't integrate all that. Okay. So this third key, okay, the fourth key, own your sex. Your pleasure, your job, your responsibility. It is not your man's job. It's not your boyfriend's job. It's not your random one-night stands job. It is your job to know what you like. And how do you do that? You start to explore your body and your pleasure. And you're like, what parts of my body feel good? What kind of touch feels good? Do I like it faster or slower or softer or harder or tingly and really take the time to learn. You're worth it. Your pleasure is worth it. Because when you know what you want, then you can teach any man how to be good in bed with you. You can because you have the knowledge yourself and the access to your own pleasure, then you can invite a man in. So that's how men get better in bed, by the way. If you find a man who's not good in bed, it's because he has not yet had a woman that taught him how to be sensitive and good in bed. Like I said before, nobody wakes up. No one is popping out of the womb sex goddesses or gods. This is a learned skill. All right. And then the fifth one is a lot of people have shame in their sex, in their bodies. And what I found really helpful is to share the spots I feel ashamed with a friend or a coach who is freer in their sex than I am. So what I mean by that is all those questions about am I normal down there? Is it okay to feel this way? Is it okay to want this? It is so helpful to have a friend who is free in their sex or a coach that's free in her sex. Because Brene Brown says, shame grows exponentially in silence, secrecy, and judgment. But the antidote to shame is connection. I don't think she said it exactly that way, but that's how I understood it. And in my experience, it's true. It's non-judgment, sharing it with someone who will listen and be like, no, you're normal. That is true for everyone, is really helpful. All right, so those are the 5 keys to better sex. I'll just say them real quick, and then we're going to do a little meditation. So the 5 keys. 1, stoke your fire with pleasure practices. Do things that nourish your body. Number 2, honor your yes and honor your no, and be hardcore with that. Number 3, let yourself feel. And the next meditation will help us with that. Be present, be now, and let yourself feel. 4, own your sex, your pleasure, your job. Get to know what you like. And then 5, share shame and stuck spots with friends who are freer than you. So those are the 5 keys. Okay, I'm going to take a sip of water, and then we're going to do a meditation. Okay, so this is a little meditation you can do at home. So if you're watching, go ahead and just close your eyes. Clear. This will be about a 5-minute meditation. So put away your phone, clear distractions for about 5 minutes, and close your eyes. Feel your breath moving in and out. And just start to become aware of your body. Maybe notice, what do your feet feel like? Tingly? What does the bed or floor or couch or whatever under your feet feel like? What do your shoes feel like? Notice your calves. They feel tight or relaxed. Your thighs, hot or cool or warm. If you're sitting on something, notice the way it feels under your butt. Feel your whole pelvis. So feel tight and contracted or open and expansive. Feel your belly. See if you can soften your belly just a little bit. Often we hold our tension and our fear in our belly. So we'll hold it, try to suck it in. See if as you breathe, you can just soften it. Soften your chest, your solar plexus. As we soften our body, it's like we're telling ourselves we're safe. We don't have to guard or brace against life. We are safe. Soften your neck, your head, your shoulders. Soften your arms. Bring attention to your pussy. What does it feel like? Is there some tingling, some buzzing, maybe quiet stillness? Is it hot or warm or cold? Just notice your pussy. This act of noticing your pussy is something you can do all throughout the day to help you come into more presence and to feel more connected to your sensuality and your sexuality. Just feel your pussy and take a deep breath in. Now I want you to put your arm out. I'm going to open my eyes, but keep yours closed. And start to slowly stroke your arm. First, just hover your hand over your arm and see at what distance can you start to feel your hands. For me, it's like a 1/2 inch. And then slowly touch your arm and move really slowly here. One thing about feminine sexuality is it often moves really slow. Masculine sexuality tends to move quite quickly. It's like fiery. So move slow. And see what sensations you can notice. What does it feel like when you stroke your wrist, for example? A lot of thin skin on your wrist. Or the insides of your elbow. can play with like a gentle scratching feeling or like a slow, soft stroking. You can use just your fingertips or your whole palm. Try both, see which one your body is asking for more right now. And it will change. Just because you like one touch right now, you might like a totally different one later. So give it a try. Be curious, like what does my body want right now? Does it want like some really like firm, like grounding on your arm, or does it want like softer, slower touch? And then if you're doing this at home, you can explore other parts of your body the same way. But when you're done, give thanks for that part of your body. So like if it's your arm, give thanks and be like, thank you for letting me move and twist and feel and type and move through the world. Give thanks. Gratitude is a really powerful practice in our sexuality and everything. So, and if you're in your meditation, you can open your eyes now. This meditation is a really simple one. You can do just 10 minutes a day, closing your eyes, softening your body, and touching different areas to see what they feel like. This is like one of the most powerful ways to both develop your attention and your presence and cultivate your sensitivity and your ability to feel subtle sensations. So that is one tangible take home for you around your sexuality. And I hope this was helpful. I know a lot of women, there's a whole world when we start exploring sexuality. It is deep and profound and important and confusing and sometimes embarrassing and taboo. So if I can help in any way, let me know. This is like, totally my jam. So we are coming to the end of day 4. Tomorrow's day 5, and there's a big surprise at the end, so stay tuned for the end. And this information, I want every woman to know about it. So if you have a friend, a sister, a colleague, someone you're like, hey, there's this challenge happening, just send them the link to this group so that they can join. And all the videos are still in the group, so you can catch them on the replay. All right, and I think that's it. Tomorrow we're talking about the competitive frenemy, so tune in at 8, and we'll talk about that. All right, have an amazing rest of your day.